Hello, this is David Scott Peters with therestaurantexpert.com. And I often get asked some questions on financials. And one of those questions is, what does a P&L look like for a restaurant? Stick with me. I'm going to share that with you in about 2 seconds. So what does a P&L look like for a restaurant? Well, do know that there's this thing called standard accounting, right? GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, that it's the same for any business, but it's not. See, for the restaurant business, we've got a couple nuances we've got to pay attention to. So if you'll pay attention to what I've got here, an example of a P&L, we've noticed, as I highlight, we want to make sure we separate all of our sales categories. It's not food and beverage, it's food, bottled beer, draft beer, wine, liquor, merchandise. We want to split it all up. We also want to make sure that we've got our percentage of sales on the outside. In this case, 82% of all sales is food. As we come down, we break out our cost of goods sold. And it's important to note that our cost of goods sold is broken out by category, not by description, if you will. Notice food is food. I've got a video on the channel that's coming out anytime soon, and depending on when you're watching, it may be there. But food is food. There is no poultry. There is no meat. There is no produce. There's no fish. There's none of that. Why? Because it's worthless. It's an old school way of doing things, but with our software, I can tell you whether you used too much chicken or not based on what your customers actually ordered. Whereas when we used to do it, old timers like me, we'd break it up that way is, well, if I was buying too much chicken, right, it went higher, there's a problem. Well, maybe you're selling more. So it's important to have the right systems in place, but it's not worth splitting it up. As we scroll down, then we bring on our payroll expenses, our labor expenses, and you'll notice we've got all of our positions broken up. There's no front of house, back of house. If there's a problem, where can I find it? In this case, when I know I've got a problem with my line cooks or my prep cooks, I can see where the problem is. So we're going to make sure we break that up and we add our taxes, benefits, insurance, and come up with what we would have as our operating expenses or operating profit. See, let me scroll back up here. Notice in most P&Ls, I'm now highlighting gross profit. Well, that's where we'd stop. See, I need you to bring it out and separate it so that by the time we get down here, we've got something called operating profit, because that's going to be my prime cost. Total cost goods sold plus total labor costs, two biggest expenses in my restaurant next to an empty chair. Then you'll notice what I like to do is go in order of how large the expense is. In this case, I start with rent. I'm going to have another video in here where I'm going to give you a full chart of accounts that you can use. But bottom line is we put everything in here, we split it up in greater detail. If you can't tell me, if I asked you on the phone what goes into restaurant supplies, and you go, I don't know, I got to talk to my accountant, then we've got a problem. See, you tell your accountant what you want to go into whatever buckets you want. You can have as many descriptive lines as you want, general ledger accounts, or you can have a few. But the more detailed you are that you can look at your report card and know exactly what expenses in there, the better. I'm all for it. Because ultimately, when all's said and done, we get down to the bottom line, we know exactly what our operating profit or loss will be. So that's what a profit and loss looks like. If you need more help, do me a favor, give us a call toll free at 1-877-457-6278 at extension 106. Ask for Greg Sauerback, our solutions coach, and he's going to be happy to help. This is David Scott Peters. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure and subscribe now to my YouTube channel. But before you go, download my free report. You'll find the link below in the description section. And be sure not to miss these other videos with expert tips to help you run your restaurant.